doing solo podcasts on my YouTube channel for a while now, and I never really got around to it, partly for probably fear of change and just never getting around to it. And I was writing in my doc, as I often do. I have a Google Doc and notes on my phone where I just like put reflections and thoughts all the time. And I was going through thinking about reflections of the year and some lessons I've learned this year and whatnot. And I was like, you know what? This is the time to push myself in some uncomfortable waters and share what I have written here. It's kind of written through chaos. It's covered in red lines and blue lines because none of the grammar or spelling is correct. So bear with me as I try and read through this. I didn't plan on it being something I publicize. But if you guys like this style of content, maybe I'll do more, maybe I won't, who knows. But here's inside look at my brain, if you will. Lesson 1, creativity is a litmus test for me. I don't even know if I'm using the word litmus in the correct term here, but what I mean by the test is that when I'm doing too many things at once and spreading my energy too thin, and I'm in a constant state of stress and not ease, and I'm not flowing in a state where I feel good, the creativity side of my brain just shuts off. And I really actually do enjoy being creative, whether it's just thinking deep thoughts and bugging Courtney with them about my like philosophical views of the world and like challenging things and everything that comes out of her mind that she probably hates me for, or through brand stuff, creative stuff, content, whatever it might be. And I used to be a lot more involved with that stuff with Raw at the beginning. And now that we have a huge team and I've phased out a bit more, I still plug in every now and then, but it's just less. So I realized that when I'm at my best, I'm creative. The kind of correlation causation, I'm not really sure, but if I can live myself in alignment where I'm not overextending myself and I feel good and I'm at peace and I'm doing things that I'm aligned with, my brain is usually spinning an idea and thoughts, trying to go deeper on things and wanting to create something of it, even if it's just new thoughts. So with that being said, there's been 2 projects on the back of my mind that I've wanted to do for a very long time. One of them is now strictly based on something where I want to build something where I can just input all my creativity into and have no setbacks of, you'll understand when I get there. But I just want to launch this project as like a pure passion thing for me where nothing else matters but an input for creativity and building something that I love. So one of the things that my plan for in 2026 is to absolutely get off the ground no matter what. Something I've wanted to do for 12 years and I've hesitated and everything has lined up now for it to be right. So that being said, I think creativity is a very overlooked thing in this world, and we like to just build and consume and do very logical things, but to be able to get out of that box and feel creative is a sign of peace and ease of the mind, which I think is super beautiful. And one of my friends that you guys know, Carly, a photographer, a good friend of mine, she's pushed everyone in this world. She's like the definition of whatever a true creative is. It's her, and she's definitely inspired me to want to push more into this and understanding that if you put yourself into a box too much, you kind of shut that off, and to be free and to be able to feel that creativeness is like a very good, powerful feeling to have within you. So shout out to Carly. That's a big lesson that I want to apply in 2026 and something I want to put into my life. Lesson number 2 is the importance of holistic alignment. Use a fancy word, holistic there, but pretty much being sure that everything is aligned in your life. And this has really came about because when I was looking back on my career as a bodybuilder, I peaked in 2020 when my whole life was peaked in bodybuilding in 2020 when my whole life was around bodybuilding. I had my boy Axel, who was like the best training partner ever, who was raw, go bodybuilding. I had Ian in my hometown. Courtney was there supporting me. It was COVID. There was nothing to do but to train and to bodybuild. The content I consumed online was bodybuilding. There was no Raw yet. There was no businesses. There was nothing but YouTube and training and bodybuilding. And my highest value was winning the Olympia and just coming back after 2019 and dominating classic physique, and everything was perfectly aligned, and that year just flowed. I didn't have any injuries. I had some stress, but I managed to flow through it. Like there was no setbacks and challenges that I was just forcing myself through. It just, that life truly flowed. And I really believe that when everything is in alignment like that life and energy just flows and you feel good and you're more upbeat. And then as life started to change, moved to Florida, started Raw and the business stuff, which is incredible. I'm so grateful for it. But the people I started to hang out with weren't into bodybuilding. The content I started to follow had nothing to do with bodybuilding. The people around me started to want me to focus on building the business rather than building myself as a bodybuilder. So all of a sudden there's this crack in the flow of the energy. It's like, okay, well I go to the office and I'm focusing on this, and then I have to pull myself back into bodybuilder mode and then go train at the gym. And it was this crack of flow. And that was when my body started to fight me more, started to be more stressed, and I started to get more injuries and a lot of stuff happened. And then me and Courtney had Bradley. We had a baby. She found out she was pregnant. All of a sudden now it's like, okay, work, business came in, and now family came in even above that. So fitness now is dropping second, third place here. And that flow started to really break. And I realized that coming to the end of my career, like my life isn't aligned now with bodybuilding, and my highest values don't necessarily align with it. And while they used to, and I loved it, that time has changed. And for me to get back to that holistic alignment, I need to step away from that and be able to create that again in my life. So that was a really important thing that I had to look at myself and realize, why was I pushing through so hard and forcing it? Why didn't I have this like flow that I had felt in the past? And it was because my values were aligned. I think this can be challenging because sometimes you just have a job that you need to have. But part of the aspect of flow that I mean here is if you work in an environment with people who, or your friends or your workplace or whatever, don't align with your values. Let's say you're married to your wife and your highest value is your relationship and you love her, and that's huge. But when you go hang out with your friends and at work, the guys there are like talking about other women, and they have wives too, but they're not really like loyal to them. They have different values from them. They want to focus on money and growing business and all these things like that. And it kind of puts you into a different mindset at work, so that when you come home, you have to switch off that brain and switch on a new brain at work. And you create this disconnect of flow from where you're at work all day, which is half your life, to when you're at home, and it starts to hurt you. But if you can build a group of friends or people that you work with that have the same values and alignment as you, it's going to be a lot easier to keep yourself in the same mindset all day and same values and beliefs, so that you have that constant flow of energy coming through. I think that's a more general way of looking at it. That being said, again, looking into this year in 2026, I have a really big life change coming up. We're having another baby and some really big changes myself this year that I'm stepping into some really uncomfortable realms, honestly, that, I don't want to talk about it yet, but that will be forcing myself out of a position of known and comfort into a position of unknown that I will believe will lead to more alignment with my highest values now. So I'm going to be changing a lot of my life coming up in 2026 for this. And I think it's an important thing to look back in your life. What's most important to you, and what's breaking that flow right now? And can you get rid of it? Can you make it better? Can you find some way to create that flow back in your life? If you do, I promise you will feel better. All right, lesson number 3, something that I need to force myself that I've gotten a lot better at, but still need to get way better at, is be more decisive. I need to work that muscle more, and case in point here is decisiveness is a muscle and it needs to be worked. What I realized being involved in a lot more business stuff now is the best CEOs and entrepreneurs I know just make fucking decisions like nothing, and they make them so fast and so decisive, and if they're wrong, they just adapt and overcome them, and they've worked that muscle. They're like the Ronnie Coleman of making decisions. Just fucking strong, forms out the door, just make it, get the job done, and you'll fucking build muscle. So I think that's something that I really want to work on, is I can be somewhat of an overthinker. And I think there's a few reasons why. One of them is not always, I'm going to keep coming back to this, is being sure of where your values are. I have written here, indecision isn't always a fear of failure, it's unknown values. And by that, I mean, you may think that you're afraid of failure, but really you just don't know what's most important to you, because if you know what's most important to you and the decision that you're trying to make is unrelated to that, then who cares if you fail, because the thing that's most important to you is unaffected by that. And if you can bring yourself to that conscious awareness all the time, like, hey, I'm set, my family's safe, this doesn't affect my character or my relationships, that's most important to me, this is just like a side business thing, if it fails I can fix it, then who cares, just make it and go after it. If you can really be upfront and conscious of what your values are and if your decision affects them or not, personally I think it gets a lot easier. And there's this other thought, this isn't my thought, I just remember hearing it on a podcast somewhere, the paradox of decisiveness. Decisive people are often wrong, but always moving forward. Indecisive people are often right, but take forever to move. You look at someone who's really indecisive, they might wait forever to make the right decision, but by then, the person who is decisive has already made 10 decisions, figured out what the good one was, and then moved on to the next one and figured that one out too. So sometimes speed is the answer, just to go and to learn. And again, there's nothing more that you can learn from life than fucking up sometimes. There's so much to learn with that, because you know if something didn't work and you need to adapt and change and think deeper on it, and it's a huge lesson. So sometimes you just gotta fucking throw it in there and get after it. Again, like I was saying, some questions that I can use to ask myself when I'm being indecisive. Does this go against my character? Could this hurt my family or relationships? So they're my highest values. If it's no and no, then fuck it, just make a decision and figure it out as you go. Lesson number 4 is do the hard stuff first, or eat your veggies first. We were talking in the business about implementing this ERP system and this finance structure so that we can pull in our cost margins for every level of the business and understand where they are, so where we're going. And it's a really extensive thing that we're putting in. I'm not in accounting, I don't do any of it, trust me. I can't remember if it was our CFO or whoever said this, but they were like, we don't have the time not to do this. So when you come up with something like range of motion, tendon strength, mobility, all that kind of work where you're like, oh, I don't have time, or getting your books in business and getting your books in order in a business. If you say you don't have time, the reality is you don't have time not to, because yes, it might work for a year, but when everything hits the fan, when you tear your pec, when you fucking are selling $1 million but losing 1.1 million because you don't know what your margins are, then you realize you're fucked, and then you have to redo everything, and it takes even more time than if you just done it right from the beginning. I've learned this in my training. One of the number one things I wish I'd done in the beginning of my career was after every show I'd done or every Olympia, I'd taken 3 months, 4 months, and I often took time off, but I wish I had taken 3 to 4 months of doing a structural balance phase like I do now with Justin, where I'm like, okay, what's uneven? My left hip's kind of fucked, my right shoulder, this, that, okay, I need to open this up, strengthen that, and rebuild everything. So I didn't continuously get injured like I did literally every year of the Olympia. I tore something that I had to overcome because I wasn't properly building at the beginning of the year, which ended up making a bigger setback for me. And luckily I was able to ride it through all my Olympias, but then this year, at the beginning, you guys saw my shoulder gave out and I couldn't lift it for 6 months. So if I had just done the work up front, do the hard stuff at the beginning, it saves you time in the end. And that age-old lesson of you don't have the time not to do it. If you ever think, oh, I know I need to do this, but I just don't have the time, really ask yourself, do you have the time not to do it? Is it gonna fuck you even more in the future? Well, you should probably just suck it up and do it now. All right, lesson number 5 is confidence is energy, energy is life. This comes from doing things that scare you, because confidence fades when you get stuck in the same patterns. And this was thinking back to a couple of years ago. I spoke about, I used to have a big fear of public speaking, still kind of do. And then one year I did a bunch of public speaking events, and it made me much better at them because there was something I was scared that I exposed myself to, and I built confidence in that area. But the thing was, my confidence poured over into every area of my life, not just in public speaking. And when you live in a comfortable state where things are just easy, you know, like right now, my life is in a very easy position. I retired from bodybuilding. I don't need to push myself to win an Olympia every year. The business is set and running because we have an amazing team of executives and Dom and Matt and Maddie and everyone who handles the business side. And I have a very comfortable life right now, and I'm not pushed into another realm where I can just coast. And I realized not putting myself into uncomfortable situations has kind of lowered my confidence a little bit. And I need to put myself out there to build that confidence, because everyone knows confidence, a sign of that is standing up straight. Jordan Peterson, shoulders back, head up with your shoulders back. I can't remember what the chapter of that old book was, but that's also a sign of energy. That standing tall and strong is like, you feel good. Everyone knows when you've accomplished something, when you've done really hard. Maybe it's public speaking, asking a girl out, something you're really scared and anxious to do. And when you walk away from doing it, you're filled with this energy and fuel. And that's another big theme for me in 2026, that I want to build the life that has energy. So flow through alignment, knowing what my values are, doing things that scare me to build confidence and increase my energy levels. I think that's something absolutely huge, and it's so easy to get caught in the comfortable and to be like, oh, you're kind of dragging your ass. You go home and you sit on your phone, you're not really pushing, you're not stretching yourself to the limits. Like that quote I had was, when you stretch your mind and your body to its limits, that's where life is most fun and exciting. And that builds energy, it builds fuel in your body to keep living. Oh yeah, the other point I have on here is, listening to talks online and even doing therapy isn't enough. You need the confidence to take action on what you are learning. You need to build that confidence in some area of your life that you can borrow it from and apply it to where you need it most. So like I was saying, in terms of the borrowing first start, if you do public speaking, you can take that confidence that you have there and it goes into other areas of your life. If you're doing something that scares you and you build confidence, you'll become confident everywhere else in your life. And on top of that, I think there's so much fucking information now. You could listen to a podcast every day that as you listen to it, or read a book as you listen to it, you're like, this is going to change my life. This is the best thing I ever heard. This is my exact problem. The person is like, do you have this, and this problem? You're like, yes. You're like, here are the solutions. And you're like, oh my God, finally all my problems are saved. And then fucking 5 years later, you're still doing that and nothing has changed. That's because you haven't actually taken action on anything. So to build confidence, there's no amount of therapy, and I'm a advocate of therapy, but there's a certain point where you need to get into therapy and work through things. And if they're not pushing you to get the fuck out there and apply the things you are learning and push yourself into the uncomfortable situations and to challenge yourself into the unknown, you have a bad therapist, get a new one. And you need to do that so you can actually build action into your life to become and build a better version of yourself and build more confidence. Lesson number 6, rest when you're dead is dead. Again, looking back at my career, when I was young, I would train every fucking day for 3 hours, do whatever I want, hit PRs every day and feel incredible. And it was great. And it was, hustle culture, rest when you're dead is also a thing right now. And I think there's a balance to that. I love pushing the limits always, but if you keep doing it, you will fall. One of the things I have to do often is I ask myself, am I stressed? I'm like, no. Am I anxious? Not right now, sometimes, but I'm fine. But do you feel at peace? Like, can you close your eyes and be like, do you feel at peace right now? And for a very long time this year, I'm just always on. And I'll be like on my laptop or working or doing something, and I'm like clenching in my hands and my jaw because I'm like on. And I'm never really in this state of like calm and peace because I don't take the time to slow down. And when I used to prep, I used to meditate twice a day, every single day throughout prep, and I didn't realize how helpful that was to my mindset. And that second meditation almost always became a nap because I would fall asleep because I was so tired. But I was constantly aware that I was pushing myself harder than ever, so I had to rest harder than ever in order to accomplish what I needed to accomplish. So pushing myself to those limits and resting as I need to was something very important and something I need to be able to apply back into my life with intentional rest. Like I have here, I don't feel stressed, but I rarely feel restored. I don't need less work, I need deeper rest. I trained my hardest when I rested my hardest. So you just gotta find time to slow down intentionally and do nothing. It's not going on your phone, it's not doing like sitting there watching TV. It's like truly being conscious of your body and your thoughts, putting your attention into how you feel, being able to step away, doing a fucking retreat, stepping away from everything that you're doing and be able to like give yourself the state of calm and peace that you need consistently so that you can come back and work harder than ever. Lesson number 8 comes from training phases. If you try and grow everything at once, nothing will grow. So this is something I've learned now with Justin, and we go through this phases. It's like, oh, like my left hip foot function is off. So we'll go through a phase where we're building that. We'll go through some isometric holds where I'm building tendon strength. And then we'll go into an explosive movement while I have my tendon strength. And now we're going to train through the top 3/4 range of motion. And we're going through these different phases rather than trying to build everything at once so I can actually make progress. Bodybuilding is different when you're constantly building your body, but you're only building muscle. You're not trying to be functional or have good cardio or feel good. You're just trying to look a certain way. So it's still one goal. And life is the same thing. If you feel stuck right now and you're like, oh, I need to get in shape, I need to start reading, I need to work harder, I need to wake up earlier, I need to go out, get 10K steps a day, I need to do all these things, and you try and do all of them at once, you're probably going to do none of them. But if you pick one and you're like, all right, for the next 6 weeks, all I'm going to do is get 10K steps a day. I don't care what the fuck else I do, I'm just getting that done. And if that becomes a habit and that becomes easy, phase done, go to the next one, and you can keep that in and continue to progress and actually hit a goal rather than just constantly throwing all these things into your life, accomplishing nothing, and then going back to feeling like shit and then repeating that cycle over and over again and never changing your life. Lesson number 7, this is just, I was reading this book and I was like, wow, this is my life right now. The beginning of the chapter says, a man must be prepared to give 100% to his purpose, fulfill his karma or dissolve it, and then let go of that specific form of living. He must be capable of not knowing what to do in his life, entering a period of unknowingness and waiting for a vision or a new form of purpose to emerge. These cycles of strong, specific action followed by periods of not knowing what the hell is going on are natural for a man who's shedding layers of karma in his relaxation into truth. So holy fuck, could this be me or not? My whole mission in life was winning Olympias, and all of a sudden, like, that's gone. Okay, like, what's my purpose right now? And I'm a huge believer, specifically for men, I'm sure women too, but I just talk to men more often because I'm a guy, is you need a purpose, you need a mission in your life to drive forward and to push yourself, to stretch yourself to the edge of what you're capable of so that you feel like you're accomplishing and growing and you feel good. But also, sometimes you accomplish that thing and it's time to move on and you really need to ask yourself, am I being a little bitch right now and it's just hard and I want to quit? Or have I truly accomplished everything I need from this thing and I'm done with it and I can move on? And there's some questions in the book actually that it gets you to that. But then there's the stage of being able to sit in the unknown and be able to wait to see what your next purpose is and not just rushing into whatever comes. And I've spoken about that already. I'm like sitting in a place of trust right now where whatever will come. And I'm at peace with not really having a mission right now, but knowing I need to find one eventually and that trusting that it will find me. Some of these things are saying, among the signs of fulfilling or completing layers of purposes are these. So you fulfilled it and you're ready to move on. You suddenly have no interest whatsoever in a project. You feel surprisingly free of any regrets whatsoever. I have no regret of retiring. Even though you may not have the slightest idea of what you're going to do next, you feel clear, unconfused, and especially unburdened in leaving. You feel an increase in energy at the prospect of ceasing your involvement with the project. The project seems almost silly, like collecting shoelaces or wallpapering your house with gas station receipts. Sure, you could do it, but why would you want to? 1, 2, 3, 4, all these questions. 5, 100%, I feel the same way. I felt an increase of energy when I thought of retiring and opening up space in my life to do more things, and it felt almost silly. It's like, yeah, I won 6 times, but like, what's the purpose of continuing to go more and more? Like, I don't see the meaning behind it anymore. And I felt proud of the work I put in. I have no regret or fear in leaving it. It was like, this is the right thing to do. And by doing so, I've opened my heart to a lot of self-reflection and growth, and I believe a really big mission or purpose is going to come into my life soon, and I'll be grateful to pour everything I have into that when it comes. This camera's gonna die. I'm not making it through this. I did not bring another battery. Lesson number 9. I've talked about this a lot, so I'll fire through it. Values are the foundation of our entire life. Taking the time to check in with yourself for what is most valuable. It will change over time. Be sure to actually look at how you're actually living and see if they line up. Values, values, values. If you don't know what's most important to you, then you're just fucking living by someone else's values, by social media's values, by society's pressure to go get a job, go to school, do this and buy this and live broke for your whole life. Like, what's most important to you and are you working towards it? Is your life aligned with those things? I think being able to check in on this question is so crucial consistently, and being decisive in making decisions. Go back to your values. Does it align with your values? Oh, you don't feel good, you're tired all the time, you don't feel motivated. Well, are you living a life aligned with your values? Being able to know what those are clearly and to understand that they evolve over time is so important. And this goes into lesson number 10, the difference between identity versus self. I heard this concept in a book forever ago. I can't remember what book it was, but it might have been Eckhart Tolle. But the self, lowercase s, self, capital S. That self, capital S, is who you are, your soul. It's innately who you are always. The lowercase self is your identity. It's things that you build on over time that grow with your environment and people in it, and then also shed as life comes on. But that core piece that's always you is the one that is being that identity, so there's the experience in life that you live that makes you become part of who you are, but then there's a person inside you that is experiencing those things, that person that is never changing and always constant. And when I've spoken about the difference of there's living a life to build aspects of yourself, to become more, to build a bigger identity, and then there's the other part, that's shedding off part of your identity of limiting beliefs and things that don't fit you anymore. That's ultimately bringing you back to your true self. Obviously, this came about retiring from bodybuilding. Bodybuilding, I didn't want to become part of my identity, but obviously it did. And I have here, performance can sustain identity, but it cannot sustain peace. Peace is being your full self. So I could perform my identity, and I did it quite well for a long time of being Mr. Olympia, being a bodybuilder and doing all these things, but it wasn't sustainable and it wasn't peaceful. It wasn't my true self, but it was a beautiful portion of my life, and I had to shed that identity and let it go. But I understand that my true self is always what's part of me. I'm always uncovering and discovering who my real self is, and it will come throughout my different identities throughout life. And I think it's super important to understand that in a season of life, there's an identity that you need for it, but to just really continue to check in yourself. And introspection is a common theme of my life, of being able to look inside of yourself and understand, does my life feel aligned right now? And am I in a point of identity shifting? Do I need to shed off a past self and leave a specific environment and become a deeper part of my true self and evolve into what I'm meant to be? I think being able to do that is super important. More random shit I have here. Identity is what we build to move through the world. The self is what remains when the building is no longer needed. Identity grows, shifts, and eventually fades as our values evolve. Like I was saying, our values will evolve over time, and by your values evolving, your identity will shift to what's most important to you, how you act, what you say, how you show up, where you show up, who you speak to, how you speak to them. All those things will continue to change, and you'll become a different person if you push yourself into uncomfortable situations. And if you don't, then you'll become a miserable motherfucker who's been like, I've been doing the same thing for the last 30 years and I haven't changed. And you're like, well, fucking push yourself somewhere uncomfortable and make the change. This is a reflection. It seems only after some peak achievements is over, you're left asking, who am I without this? So yeah, I think one of the most beautiful rewards of being able to accomplish something extremely great, reaching the peak, the pinnacle of your potential in something, is that it feels like you're done with it. And it's like, okay, well, I worked my whole life, I worked so hard to accomplish this thing. Who am I without it? And that's such a powerful question to discover who you really are. And I don't have that answer, even for myself. I'm just still discovering that. But that's been a really interesting question I've asked myself this year. So my identity, deeper than most, attached to a career because of social media. And I have strangers coming up to me in the street, Mr. Olympia, Cbum. I'm like, I'm viewed. My identity is very strong in other people's eyes about myself. And because it's their subjective opinion, it's not truly me, it starts to pour onto what my subjective opinion is me. For me to be able to detach, okay, what am I, who am I without all of that shit, without any of that identity apart, is a very powerful question to ask myself to really get back to like my true self, to be able to find out when you're a child and you're just free and you're living, you're happy and everything is beautiful and you cry, then you're over it and you move on, you're laughing and you're just so present and in the moment, be able to get yourself back to that true self, to enjoy life and to feel free, to have your values aligned, to feel flow of energy, to be confident, to be at peace in your heart and who you are. I think that's a common theme that's running through everything is here. It's just alignment and flow and energy and confidence because you're being your true self. And life is a discovery of that. And if you're not pushing yourself into uncomfortable situations of chasing after passions and also understanding that sometimes you're going to be doing shit you don't want to do so that you can get to the thing that you do want to do, and that thing you do want to do might not be the thing that you thought you wanted, and then you're going to have to leave it behind and become something else. And life is just this ever-changing and evolution, but the self that you are never changes. And if you can start to differentiate that and live life like that presently as yourself, and everything else just being the subjective, non-lasting change, mortal aspect of life that changes and doesn't last, that's how you fucking live life, you know? I don't want to use the word happiness, but that's when you're at peace, and peace is certainly a form of happiness. So probably could have organized those thoughts a little bit more, but those are my brain dump of shit that I've been thinking about going through this year, and I made it without my camera dying. It's been on 0% for like 5 minutes, so hell yeah. Thank you guys for watching. 2026 is going to be a hell of a year. Let's lock in, get jacked, get uncomfortable, figure out who the fuck we are, and live lives that we're proud of. So peace out.